If you like my content, consider becoming a member to help support the channel. Click on the join button to find out more. This is the Simjack brake pedal, and if you haven't watched my review, there is a link in the description, and also the pinned comment will have the link to the review. So check that out first, because the reason why I'm making this video, this follow-up video, is because something I mentioned in that review. There's Simcat in the background. Can you hear her? She might do a pitch invasion. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, the reason why I wanted to do this mod, and I mentioned I was going to mod this brake pedal, because the spring and the rubber piece here are not ideal. I cover this in great detail in the review, but you know, as a summary, basically it's a linear feeling spring, hard rubber piece, doesn't give a really good progressive feel to the brake, and I know it can be improved, and I've already had some suggestions from some of you guys out there, so I do appreciate that. So I've got an assortment of bits and pieces here, things which I've just basically had lying around. So what I'm going to do in the next segment of the video, I'm going to basically test a bunch of these things out and see what works, and give you my assessment, and tell you what works and how we can improve this this pedal. Thing about it, let me just show you this first as well, is it's very easy to get to the rod. It is an M8 rod, so if you're going to want to mod your own Simjack Mini brake, know that it's just M8. So as long as you get something that fits on there, because all these things fit on there, and these are not, you know, I've got a bunch of things here which aren't designed for this pedal, but it's designed for other pedals, which I will talk about momentarily. But let me just take this off, and you can just see it does come off pretty easily. I'll just push that back. This little plate does stick in there a little bit, but there you go. So you've got this back plate that holds everything in place. A plastic sort of a bushing grommet type thing. Got the spring, another one of those plastic things, but a slightly different design. Washers, rubber piece, and once you've taken that off, it's just basically a clear rod. You can just bash on whatever you want on there. But of course, we'd want to put a washer on first, and then I could potentially just kind of run it like this. Put some stuff on there, put a different spring on here. I've got some other springs. Put it together and then give it a go. So that just shows you it is very easy to modify this. So let me go through the bits I have, because as I said, they're not, you know, these aren't sold as mods for this particular brake pedal. So the stuff I have in my hand right now, I'll show you all the pieces for that one, in fact. So this is the Apex V2R brake mod for the TLCM pedals, the Thrustmaster TLCM pedals. It's a mod I have reviewed. What else do I have? So these are for the CSL pedals. Again, I've reviewed this mod. So in the description, I'll kind of put links to, you know, these mods and the reviews, so you can kind of reference those if you want to check those out. So this is that for them. You know, these are kind of 3D printed sort of elastomer pieces, as are these. What else do we have? We've got a bunch of springs. All right, Simcat, you all right? She's looking right into my eyes, like she wants something from me, but you're gonna have to wait, Simcat. Here we go. We have a bunch of different springs, so different grades. That's why they're, you know, this is the lightest one. I think that's the heaviest one. That's the medium one. You can see I've got different sizes, so I've got plenty to things to experiment with. Over here, I have some Hussenfeld Pro elastomers. So there's some spares for my Hussenfeld Pro pedals. So yeah, just kind of standard elastomer things. Got some pretty stiff bushings from skateboard bushings. They fit on there. They're slightly wider. These are probably look like M10 to me rather than M8, but they do go on there. Some spare washers. Again, M8 washers though, kind of needed some larger diameter ones really, but for the purpose of this test, these will do for now, but these are probably better, these sort of, you know, larger penny washers. And finally, I got a bunch of these things, and these are from Hawksworth Engineering. Now, if you do follow my channel and you have some Thrustmaster TLCM pedals, you may have watched my video where I modded that brake pedal very successfully using these rubber spacers. Now the reason I have so many of them is Hawksworth Engineering were very kind enough to send me a bunch of these a few months ago really, and these are M8 ones for the Thrustmaster TLCM brake pedal mod. They were M6. These are M8, which suits this one just fine, and I just basically got different hardness ratings. So you can see that's Shore rating is 64. We have this one is 45, so fairly soft. These are 85, so pretty stiff. Some very soft ones at 38, and finally these seem medium ones, 55. So I've got a bunch of these to test out as well. Now I'm not going to make it like overly complicated and start kind of doing this weird mixing, matching with different kind of brands here, or even with these ones. I just want to find a Shore rating which I can just basically use for the stack. And in the case of using these, just kind of stack these up, because these particular ones, these Apex ones, the different colours denote a different kind of hardness. So the softest one is the white one, I think, or maybe the purple one. That's kind of similar, and then the black and the red are the hardest one. So I'll kind of mix these up and see what happens. And with these, we have. I can't remember which one it is. There's a progressive one and the linear one. Probably, I'm not sure, that might be the progressive one, that might be the linear one, but you can see I've got 3 of these things. So we'll see how we get on, and then I'll try the Hussenfeld Pro Elastomers. Unfortunately, these are going to be hard to get because they're not for general sale. I will say though, before we move on, is Simjack do sell some elastomer pieces, and you can find them on AliExpress, and I'll put a link there. So potentially you get something which would be similar to this particular mod. So I'll put a link to that one, and just remember it's the M8 ones you want if you do get these. You can see they go on absolutely perfectly. There you go, that's the introduction done. That went on a bit too long, didn't it? But I do think I needed to give some sort of background to the purpose, and also show you all the parts I'm going to be playing with. So coming up next, I might not show you everything that I've got here. I'll go over my experiments, and I'll just show you what I've done, and I'll tell you what worked and what didn't, etc. Yeah, enjoy the video. Before we kick things off, this is the brake before modding. The spring compresses, then we hit the rubber piece. This doesn't mesh well together. The spring is largely linear and we lack a progressive feel. The stock brake is not great feeling basically. Also note, the video is fully time-stamped, so you can jump between the segments. This is the 3D Wrap mod, originally designed for the Fanatec CSL load cell brake. It fits perfectly, and we have different configurations at our disposal. We can run the stock rubber along with either the linear or progressive 3D Wrap elastomer, or go with a complete 3D Wrap setup. What we're looking for is for the springs to complement each other, where the compression is smooth and blends together. This gives us the progressive feel. As we apply more force into the brake pedal, the resistance increases. The stock rubber and 3D Wrap elastomer combo with either the linear or progressive mod run well together. The overall pedal travel is well balanced against the resistance. Out of the possible combinations, I found the stock rubber and progressive 3D Wrap elastomer was the best feeling to me. That's the one I would recommend. If you drive lots of different car classes, then I would say this is the right setup for you. This is a good medium setup. You can get on the brake quickly for hard braking without a ton of pedal travel, and has the right amount of softness for lighter braking too. I previously reviewed the 3D Wrap mod on the Fanatec CSL pedals quite a while back, and it was good on that brake, and it's good here too. I'd be more than satisfied to run the Simjack Minis with this setup going forward. All you need is to replace the metal spring with the single progressive elastomer, so nice and simple. But of course we do have the other mods to try out, so let's move on. Like the 3D Wrap mod, the Apex 2VR brake mod is also 3D printed in TPU. Originally, this mod was developed for the Thrustmaster TLCM brake pedal. The mod comes with 4 springs of different strengths, I settled on a medium setup, essentially the same combination that I liked most when I reviewed this mod on the Thrustmaster pedals. I guess that stands to reason. When these elastomers compress, you can feel some feedback texture. As they are 3D printed, their firmness is the result of the structure and amount of infill. They look solid from the outside, but inside it's a lattice arrangement. So the material inside is mushing around, so that's where the texture is coming from. What you may like about this mod is you have multiple spring combinations to experiment with, so you can really change the travel and softness, the firmness. Yeah, you have lots of choices here. On track, the brake feels good, easy to work with. I found the learning curve was really easy. I installed the mod, began racing, and the brake was intuitive from the outset. So yeah, really good results here, and one I could recommend. If it works for me, then it should work for you too. I'm doing my best to keep things moving along and snappy in this video, so drop into the video description. I have posted the original review link for this mod, so if you want to find out more details about this particular mod and also the other mods, there may be other appropriate linked videos as well, so check the video description, there's more stuff there. Now we have the Skateboard bushings installed. This is the most accessible mod out of everything we're looking at today. Bushings like this can be found online and through specialist stores. They are inexpensive, so very promising. We're running the stock rubber spring along with 3 pieces from the Skateboard bushing set. These bushings come in various grades of firmness, so you do need to pick carefully as the end results will balance on that selection. I paid under £5, I think about £4 in fact, from eBay for these bushings. Their Shore rating is 80A. Now these weren't quite perfect, I would have preferred something slightly softer here. That said, I am liking this setup. The overall pedal travel and resistance is in the right ballpark, just a little bit too firm at the beginning of the pedal throw for me, but that is a subjective matter. That said, I was able to work with it just fine. I ran a test lap and then began recording this footage. And if you watch the action, I'm keeping the car under control just fine with next to no practice here. Late braking is my speciality, so you need to be confident with the brake that's under your foot. The bushings along with the rubber spring provided informative and repeatable progressive resistance to help me brake late and dive into those corners and keep the car steady. So yeah, Skateboard bushings, a cheap mod, durable and works rather well. No complaints, it's a very good option. Replacing a spring with another spring may not seem like a bright idea since I dumped the original spring as it wasn't doing a good job in the first place. These die springs are a different story though. They are firmer and don't bottom out like the original spring. Metal springs are not as ideal as rubber or elastomers, which is why high-end pedals don't use metal spring tension on brake pedals, or at least don't rely completely on those types of springs. The tension and feedback from springs just isn't as good as those other materials. But a hybrid setup of a metal spring and elastomer, or in this case a metal spring and rubber, can work pretty well though. I tested a blue and red spring. The red spring is the firmer of the two, and I can say both performed better than I expected. The resistance of the metal spring and rubber blend together, forming a decent progressive tension. This is not my preferred setup, that's my subjective feedback, but I can't complain about its effectiveness, and compared to the original stock metal spring, this is very much now improved. It's an upgrade, and if these Simjack Minis shipped with this spring, I would have been satisfied, and I doubt I would have felt the need to make this video. The final mod I have to show you is using the Hawksworth Engineering rubber spacers. A very popular video on the channel is my Thrustmaster TLCM DIY brake mod using these rubber spacers from this company. It's a fantastic and essential mod for the TLCM brake. For the TLCM mod, I recommended the 45 Shore spacers. For the Simjack pedals, I think they're too soft, and the 55 Shore spacers are the way to go. I also tried out the 69 Shore ones, and I found those too firm, but again, you know, subjectiveness, guys. This is my opinion. So, in my opinion, the 55 Shore ones are the way forward if you want to go down this path. In hindsight, I could have combined the stock rubber with these rubber spacers. That would have actually worked just fine. But for this test, I decided to just try using a stack of these alone. These are pretty damn good. From the beginning to the end of the pedal motion, the sensation for light, medium and hard braking is spot on. I'm confident and connected with the car, very natural, intuitive, realistic feeling brake. These rubber spacers are listed on Amazon. There's a link in the description and cheaper than some of the other mods featured here, so worth a look. These rubber spacers come in a pack of 10, 4 large, 4 medium and 2 small. I'm using the 4 largest ones here. Something else you can try is testing combinations of the sizes to fine tune the brake feel, so plenty of versatility just with that one pack of spacers. Also worth saying, when you are using these rubber spacers, make sure you do separate them with large penny washers and add some lubrication. Silicone grease will be ideal. This just improves the durability. That's 5 options for you. I did skip the Hussenfeld Pro elastomers that I showed earlier on the table since you can't buy those exact elastomers. There's little sense using them here. I can tell you right off the bat, if you already own or intend to buy the Simjack mini pedals, you absolutely need to mod that brake. All the mods I've showed you make a huge difference. It's so much better when you dump that terrible metal spring and upgrade it to something better. Every one of these mods is a great option. It's a fine margin to pick the best. But I expect if I don't say anything in this video, I'll be pestered in the comments. So here we go. The Hawksworth spacers and the 3D wrap mod were my favourites if I needed to pick one or two of them. But quite honestly, I'd be satisfied with any one of those mods that I showed you. For practicality, I would say the skateboard bushings. That makes a lot more sense for most people as they are widely available and super cheap. Okay, well that ended up being a longer video than I initially planned. I rummaged around for bits and pieces and things started accumulating. Yeah, it's a collection of recycled mods, but if it works, it works. Hopefully you've picked up some ideas here and maybe you can come up with your own. If you've already modded your Simjack mini brake, let me know in the comments what you used. There you go guys, that's the end of this one. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Happy simming and bye bye.